If you're looking to protect your wealth against potential lawsuits, this video is for you. You see, most of us are gonna work from anywhere between 30 to maybe 40 years, and one of the worst things that could ever happen to us is that we fall into a lawsuit, and now 40 years of our wealth can be wiped out just simply because we didn't do the right type of planning. You see, during this video, we're gonna be discussing the 5 accounts and the 5 locations that you can go put your money into, and it can also protect you if someone tomorrow were to try to sue you. Now, before we get into it, I want you to keep in mind that the protection of accounts against lawsuits can vary depending on the jurisdiction that you're in. So make sure that you're speaking with your advisors and your legal team as you're doing this planning. So here are the 5 accounts. The first is something called your primary residence. So this means that the home that you're currently in, called your homestead, could be completely protected in the case of a lawsuit. So yes, if you have a $10 million home and someone tomorrow were to try to sue you, as long as it is classified as your primary residence, they cannot go after it. Now, I want you to keep in mind that if you owe any money on the property and you stop paying the mortgage, then yes, obviously the lender is going to foreclose on the property and they will take the property away from you. Now, the second type of account are called retirement accounts. These normally include things like 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, TSP accounts, deferred compensation plans, and even annuities. So pretty much anything that falls under the retirement account category can be protected. It doesn't matter if your account only has $10,000 or it has $10 million. If someone tomorrow were to try to sue you, these accounts are normally going to be protected. Now, the third account is what are called health savings accounts, or what are called HSAs. Now, unfortunately, most people don't even know what an HSA is, let alone even have one. Now, less than 3% of people actually have what is called a health savings account. You see, this is an account that you can deposit a few $1,000s every single year, and if you're married, it's actually double that amount. And this account can be invested into things like index funds and individual stocks like maybe Apple or Google or Tesla, just like any other investment account. But the purpose of these accounts is that they are specifically to be used for healthcare needs. Now, you'd be surprised the amount of healthcare expenses that we all have that we don't even think that it's a necessity, but in the eyes of the government, they actually see it as a healthcare necessity that you might have, even like massages. Now, if you want to know exactly what is classified as a healthcare expense, you can actually just Google what is called medical expense list from HSA accounts. You'll be surprised the amount of expenses that you can cover from your HSA account. And the beautiful thing is that all of the growth on this account, you pay no taxes when you take out the money as long as it is being used for medical expenses. So if you have an HSA right now with say $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and you're now involved in a lawsuit or even a bankruptcy proceeding, this account will be fully protected against those potential lawsuits. Now, the fourth type of account are what are called qualified tuition programs. You see, these are normally known as what are called 529 plans. So if you started a savings plan for your child, such as a 529 or maybe an UGMA account, you see most of these accounts in most states, they're actually protected in the case of bankruptcy or lawsuits. So for those of you that have kids with accounts like these, I don't want you to worry that if tomorrow you're involved in a lawsuit that you could actually lose this money, because normally these types of accounts will be fully protected in the case of a lawsuit. Now, the final account that most people have no idea about are what are called cash value life insurance contracts. You see, these types of life insurance policies where you can build up significant amount of cash within the policy, if tomorrow you were to be involved in a lawsuit, they would be fully protected in this scenario. We actually had a client a couple years ago go through a very ugly lawsuit, and he was being sued for over $1.5 million. After the entire lawsuit, he actually lost all of his money in his bank account, he lost all of his investment properties, and he lost all of these funds just simply because he lost the lawsuit. But here was the beautiful thing. He had over $3 million saved up inside what are called cash value life insurance policies. And this allowed him to be able to finalize his lawsuit, but they never took any of these funds away from him just simply because he had these money inside these types of accounts. Now, please keep in mind that this is not legal advice, and this information is subject to change based on your jurisdiction. I've seen many people hear about these types of accounts and they think that they're trying to figure out ways on how to hide their money in these accounts from potential creditors. And I do want you to know something. If you are structuring these accounts to specifically try to avoid creditors, you may be committing fraud. This is why it is extremely important that you are structuring all of these assets from the very beginning to prepare yourself from ever something like this happening later on. Now, I know that you might be thinking that this is never going to happen and you're never going to be involved in a lawsuit. But unfortunately, we hear these stories on a regular basis here at our office. So if you have questions on how to structure your wealth so it is protected against these future possibilities, make sure that you are speaking to your advisory team. If you are not happy with your current advisory team, please feel free to reach out to us and we can schedule a complimentary session with one of our wealth strategists. I really hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you soon.